It is February 17th, 2018. Fresh snow covers the idyllic ski resort of Sun Peaks, and most residents are cozying up in their warm homes. But for Ryan Shtuka, things are very different. Around 2 a.m., the 20-year-old leaves a house party and sets off on the short walk home to his lodging, a route he has taken countless times before. But this time, Ryan never makes it home. And the question remains, what could have happened to him on a journey of just a few meters? Ryan Shtuka was born on March 17, 1997, in Canada. His parents, Heather and Scott, live in Edmonton, Alberta. Scott works in the construction industry, and Heather is a guest services manager at WestJet. 2 years after Ryan was born, his sister Jordan was born, and the family moved to Beaumont, about 40 minutes from Edmonton. Ryan is the typical big brother. He often teases his little sister, but at the same time takes loving care of her. He loves dinosaurs and has numerous dinosaur figures. When he is 8, he gets another sister, Juliana. At school, Ryan attends the French immersion program, where students are taught in both English and French. He is popular and has a close-knit group of friends, but tends to stay in the background in large crowds. He loves spending his free time with his friends on the Xbox. He's also athletic and enjoys water sports and rugby, but his greatest passion is snowboarding. The family often goes to the mountains, and Ryan quickly becomes very good at it. He loves riding with his best friend James, who shares this passion with him. After graduating from high school, Ryan isn't sure what path to take. First, he works for a year at his father's company and earns good money there. Afterward, he enrolls in a finance program at college, but quickly realizes that it doesn't really fulfill him. After a year, he takes a break to travel. His parents support him in this. In the summer of 2017, he wants to work at a ski resort with James. The two apply to various resorts in British Columbia and eventually land a job at Sun Peaks. James heads there as early as November, and Ryan follows him in December 2017, when he is 20 years old. Sun Peaks is a luxury ski resort. A 2-day pass costs about $2,400. The nearest major city, Kamloops, is nearly an hour away. The region around Kamloops is known for mysterious disappearances and is often referred to as the Kamloops Triangle, as several people have vanished without a trace there in recent years. And Ryan will soon suffer a similar fate. Ryan initially lives in staff housing, but after a few weeks he moves in with James to a small house on Sun Peaks Road, about a 20-minute walk from the resort. The house is also home to the couple Chris Feeney and Kristen Lacko, as well as Ellie and Jasmine, who share a room in the attic. They all work at the resort. They earn about $400 a month, which they also have to use to pay the rent. Ryan starts out working at the ski lift and later on a slope where people can slide down on inner tubes. His shift usually runs from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. He is offered a promotion once, but he turns it down. He doesn't want to take on responsibility. He just wants to have fun and snowboard. For Christmas, he decides not to go home because the trip is too long. His mother calls him that day, but Ryan is out with friends and wants to go snowboarding. Ryan has a casual relationship with a young woman who also works at the resort. Otherwise, he usually spends his evenings with friends and plays video games with James. On February 16th, however, a party is planned as a special exception. Ryan is working again that day, finishes at 7 p.m., and texts James that he's on his way home. He has already paid his rent and the monthly payment for his car that day and withdrawn some cash. That evening, they plan to go to a silent disco at Bottom's Bar. At home, he eats a quick bite before heading out with James, Chris, Kristen, Ellie, and her boyfriend. It's -4 degrees outside. There's a long line outside the club, and since they're only lightly dressed, they first go to the bar next door, where Jasmine works. There, they have a few drinks before finally heading to Bottom's. At the silent disco, one last photo is taken of Ryan and James. Ryan looks happy in it. It remains unclear how drunk he is at this point. He has spent the money he withdrew and taken 3 lines of MDMA. His family knew nothing about this drug use. Around 1 a.m., they leave the club. It's customary for their group to go to a friend's house after parties and continue partying there. This time, James, Ryan, Chris, and Kristen head to an apartment on Burfield Drive, just 5 minutes from their own home. At 1:30 a.m., James is the first to leave the apartment. He accidentally takes the wrong route, but he arrives at Sun Peaks Road just fine. Around 2:10 a.m., Chris and Kristen also leave the apartment. They see Ryan get up and grab his jacket and assume he'll be leaving soon as well. But Ryan never makes it home. On February 17, 2018, Ryan Shtuka says goodbye to his friends early in the morning and heads home. As mentioned, it's only a 5-minute walk, but that evening, he never makes it home. His friends, on the other hand, reach their place without any trouble. There, they greet a few guests Jasmine has invited and go to sleep. The next day, one of Ryan's friends receives a message from Ryan's boss because he didn't show up for work. At first, this isn't unusual for Ryan, since he often oversleeps. But when his roommate goes to check on him in his room, there's no sign of the 20-year-old. His friends assume that Ryan went for a quick snowboarding session before work, something he's done before and lost track of time doing. But at 7 p.m., another message arrives from his supervisor, stating that Ryan didn't show up for work that day. His friends search his room again. He's left his work boots and his employee ID behind. James contacts the friends who hosted the party last night. No one there has seen Ryan in the last few hours or can say exactly when he left. The friends are growing increasingly worried and start calling nearby hospitals, but Ryan hasn't been admitted anywhere. Finally, James reports him missing to the Kamloops Mountain Rescue Service. An hour later, the police begin searching the area with search dogs. At the same time, James sends a message to Ryan's mother, Heather. Heather is shocked and immediately becomes very worried. Ryan's parents call the police in Kamloops. There, they are told that search dogs have already been deployed and that if they find no trace, a large-scale search will begin in the morning. Without hesitation, Heather and Scott set off for Sun Peaks at 10:30 p.m. It's a 9.5-hour drive. When they arrive in Sun Peaks in the morning, the police are already coordinating search teams with dogs, drones, and helicopters. They have interviewed all the guests who were at the party and are trying to piece together a precise timeline of Ryan's disappearance. 12 centimeters of snow have already fallen since Ryan went missing, and every minute that passes makes the search even more difficult. The police suspect that Ryan may have strayed off the path while walking home, possibly under the influence of alcohol. Perhaps he fell into a so-called tree well. These are deep, snow-covered hollows beneath trees, protected by their branches. If you fall in there, you can sink deep into the snow and suffocate or freeze to death. The police believe it's possible that Ryan was buried in this way. But despite numerous search efforts, Ryan remains as if swallowed up by the earth. A single clue comes from an infrared drone. It spots some footprints below Burfield Drive, but they seem to lead nowhere. The last signal from Ryan's cell phone is received at 3 a.m. near Sun Peaks Resort. But cell towers pick up signals from a 12-mile radius. Residents are being asked to check their sheds and garages in case Ryan sought shelter there. But any hope Ryan's parents had is shattered when at the end of the day, they receive the devastating news that the official search is largely being called off. If Ryan is still out there, he would have frozen to death long ago. For Ryan's parents, this news comes as a shock. Their son has only been reported missing for a few hours, and already the search is being almost completely called off. They contact the ski patrol and are allowed to set up a workspace in their building to coordinate their own search. Some friends of the family also travel to Sun Peaks to help in the search for Ryan. Scott, Ryan's father, even buys an excavator to dig through the snow and look for clues. For weeks, they search tirelessly for their son, combing through private property, following possible routes he might have taken, and scouring the mountains. The resort supports them, letting them stay for free and giving them free rein on the grounds for their search. But all their efforts are in vain. In April, one of Ryan's roommates suddenly notices a text message he received from Ryan at 1:30 a.m. on the night of his disappearance. It states that he had left the party and was now on his way home as well. This message helps better pinpoint the timeline of his disappearance. However, it is also possible that Ryan sent the text but then stayed at the party longer after all. It also remains unclear why the roommate only noticed the text now. It is suspected that he simply dismissed it while intoxicated that night and did not remember it the next morning. A tip had already been received from a witness who claimed to have seen Ryan near the resort around 2 a.m. on the night of his disappearance. This lead was not pursued, as it was assumed he was still at the party at that time. However, this now fits the new time frame. There is a pizza land in the area that stays open until 2 a.m., which Ryan often visited after parties. It is possible that he left the party at 1:30 a.m. to get a pizza. Both the ski resort and the pizza place have surveillance cameras. The police reviewed the footage after 2:10 a.m., but not the footage before that. When they now want to change that, they discover that the footage has, unfortunately, already been overwritten. Another witness who lives near the resort reports that he was woken up at 2 a.m. by someone outside shouting, "Get in the damn car!" However, it is unclear whether this has anything to do with Ryan's disappearance. Around 4 a.m., other witnesses spot a car driving down the mountain, but here too, it's unclear whether the sighting is connected to Ryan in any way. In June, the snow finally melts, prompting the police to resume the search. However, dense underbrush has now grown, complicating the investigation. Ryan's parents face a difficult decision. They can no longer afford to stay in Sun Peaks and eventually return home in the summer without a trace of their son. Nevertheless, they continue to travel to Sun Peaks every month to search for Ryan. Over the years, more than 1,000 volunteers have searched for Ryan. Buses carrying volunteers regularly travel from Vancouver to Sun Peaks. Heather founded the Free Bird Project to provide help and resources to other families of missing persons. She also organizes the annual Run for Ryan, in which participants ski or snowboard down the 5-mile trail at 3 p.m. on the anniversary of his disappearance. In addition, the family creates a Facebook group and a website about his disappearance. Since Ryan has loved dinosaurs since childhood, they begin distributing toy dinosaurs bearing the hashtag #FindRyanShtuka. In 2022, Heather publishes the book Missing from Me, in which she shares her story and the pain of Ryan's disappearance. In 2023, the family increased the reward for tips from $15,000 to $25,000, hoping to receive new information. Despite warnings from the RCMP and Crime Stoppers that high rewards often lead to false leads, the family made a conscious decision to do so. At first, Ryan's family always said in interviews that they did not believe Ryan had been the victim of a crime. They suspected that Ryan had strayed from the path, sunk into the snow, and was then buried further by a snowplow. Now that the snow has melted and so many years have passed without Ryan being found, his parents do occasionally wonder if a crime was involved. Deep down, however, Heather still believes it must have been a tragic accident. She may know more from the police that reinforces her conviction. In any case, there has never been an official suspect. Nevertheless, numerous theories about Ryan's disappearance have emerged in recent years. We'll now take a closer look at a few of them. The theory, which Ryan's parents also believe, is that the 20-year-old was the victim of a tragic accident on the night he disappeared. He was drunk, had taken drugs, and it was cold and dark outside. Since his friends were partying at a different house than usual that evening, it's possible that Ryan, much like James before him, accidentally walked in the wrong direction. If he had collapsed in the cold, it would have snowed on him by morning, and a snowplow might have buried him without anyone noticing. Ryan would have frozen to death within a few hours. The major problem with this theory is that Ryan's body was never found, despite numerous intensive searches with tracking dogs. There wasn't even a trail to follow. And even when the snow melted in June, his remains were never found. Perhaps his body slid down a slope with the melting snow and was carried away by wild animals. However, the skepticism surrounding this theory has led some people to believe that Ryan was the victim of a crime. To this day, there is still debate online about whether Ryan's friends might have had something to do with his disappearance. It is said that Ryan may have died of an overdose and that his friends disposed of his body for fear of being prosecuted. But there is no evidence to support this theory. The police and Ryan's parents have searched the house where the party took place multiple times, and all the guests were extremely cooperative. There are also rumors that Ryan may have gotten into a conflict with a local drug dealer. Some claim he owed him money or had an affair with his girlfriend. But here, too, there is a complete lack of evidence. His bank account activity shows nothing unusual, and he had enough savings to easily pay off any potential debts. As mentioned earlier, Kamloops is known for its high crime rate and mysterious missing persons cases. Between 2017 and 2020, 6 men disappeared there, including Ryan. 2 of them were found dead a month later, murdered. Their car was found near Logan Lake. The murders remain unsolved to this day, but drug deals are also suspected here. A witness heard someone shout, "Get in the damn car," that night. This may have been directed at Ryan, who was forced by someone to get into his car. However, this clue is also the central lead in another theory. In recent years, there have been several hit-and-run incidents in the area where Ryan disappeared. The drivers were often drunk, but the snow and darkness alone are enough to cause an accident. It's possible that Ryan was accidentally hit by a car that night. Perhaps he was walking home along the side of the road when he was struck by a car. The driver might have panicked and decided to hide the body. The shout, "Get in the damn car," would also fit with a hit-and-run accident. Perhaps the driver and passenger argued and couldn't agree on whether to flee quickly or stop to help. It's also possible that Ryan was initially only injured and the driver wanted to take him to the hospital. But Ryan died on the way there, and the driver decided to dispose of his body in a remote location. None of these 3 theories can be completely ruled out, but they all have their weaknesses. The accident theory is probably the most likely, as there is no evidence of a crime. But the question remains, where is Ryan's body, and why hasn't it been found? The disappearance of Ryan Shtuka remains unsolved to this day. His parents hope that one day the truth will come to light and they and their son can finally find peace. And that brings us to the end of today's video. The fact that Ryan's parents assume it was an accident and don't believe it was a crime sets this case apart from many similar ones. But even so, we can't completely rule out the possibility of a crime in this case either. What do you think happened to Ryan? Did he die of an overdose? Was it a tragic accident? Or was he murdered, and has his death been covered up to this day? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. That also helps support this channel. Other than that, there isn't much more to say. I hope you're having a good morning, afternoon, or evening, whichever time you're watching this, and I hope to see you again in the next video. Until then, bye everyone.